Now, we've created this document and we have some type and it flows across columns. Now, there's one thing that you want to know, particularly if you're working on a laptop, but even if you're working on a desktop, your design is not 100% of its actual size. And there is an unfortunate preference in InDesign. We've talked about font size. If I click on this type here and I look over here under character, I can see that this font is 12 point. And that is unfortunate because if I actually printed this out at 100% actual size, what I would see is that this type is actually too large. Visually, it's just really big and kind of what sometimes is referred to as horsey. So what I want to do is I have my cursor in this text here. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to go to select all. Select all will select not only all of this type, but any other type. You notice that there's still the red box of this on this fourth box here. That means there's type that's not visible. Select all selects all the type that's visible and not visible. I now want to go down to 10 points. And I'm going to set this to 11 points leading. And this will give you type that is actually the proper size for a document like this. If you remember, I mentioned that some fonts look bigger and some fonts look smaller. So just because I'm setting this all to 10 point doesn't mean 10 point is going to be the best size, but 10 point would be the size, a reasonable starting place. And since Accidents Grotesque is a body font, probably 10 point would be about right. Somewhere between 9 and 11 point would probably be ideal. Now, we also have another option. Well, let's see, there's another thing that needs to happen here. And that's that we don't have any way to tell where paragraphs start and stop. So I'm also going to select all this type. And under the paragraph settings, the second one down in the controls, there is something for the first line indent. Some of you may be used to putting a tab at the beginning of paragraphs or 2 or 3 spaces. We prefer to control the indent with this control because if we select all this type and we can just set it once, and even if, well, technically, even if we've forgotten to put a tab or something in, it will be indented this way. And I'm going to indent it the same as my leading, which is 12 point, which is a good place to start. And you'll see that I got 1 and 2 indents. This is actually unfortunate that this is up there because it's either a widow or an orphan, and I never seem to be able to remember that. So in order to compensate, I'm going to move that subhead up a little bit. I'm going to make this box a little shorter. I'm going to hold my Shift key and select all of these items. My Y height is here, so I'm going to add minus 12 point, and you'll see those all just moved up 12 point. Kind of handy to be able to do that. And then I'm going to take and drag this down till another line forms. And now the widow or orphan is no longer there. So that looks better. Then I want to draw attention to this text where it starts. I'm going to click on this first paragraph. And actually the first paragraph in an article and generally the first paragraph after a subhead is not indented. So I'm going to remove the indent from that one. And then I'm going to go to the bottom of my paragraph functions here. And so the selection, my cursor is in the first paragraph. I can go and add, wow, how did that happen? I can add what's called an initial cap. Notice that it's in the same font as the text it's around. And so, well, let's see, there's two things I need to do. First of all, I'm going to select all of this text. And instead of Times Roman, I want it to be accidents, grotesque, light. And then I'm going to make this initial cap to be the same as my headline and make it impact. So we'll have some continuity. Okay. And then I've got this designed more or less the way I'd like it. I can go to the last icon at the bottom of the toolbar and click and hold and go to preview, and it hides the guides. And then I can see what my design looks like without the guides because the guides won't print. And then what's left to do here, actually I'm going to bring this in a little bit. Command Shift, click hold, bring that up, bring this up a little bit. I'm going to try to match the space here with the space there. And now what I need to do is I need to add a caption. And so I'm going to create a text box there. I'm going to go to text edit. And I'm going to open Artsy, images from Artsy, click open. Wow, okay, somehow I didn't manage to save that. File, open, recent. Okay, go back to Artsy, go to here. Okay, I will do this the hard way. So there. I contained all my information in my captions or in my titles for my images. So now I'm going to go back to InDesign. Um, go back to my Finder. And then I'm going to want to select all this text. Again, not 12 point, but 10 point on 12. And I'm going to make this in accidents light italic to differentiate it from the body copy so people don't get confused about what they're looking at. And then I'm going to want to figure out how to get this to align. So I'm going to move this up a little farther and that up a little farther. And I'm going to turn on normal again. And I'm going to zoom in. Going to move there. Okay. And I would also go and drag a guide over, and that gives me an alignment. I may also want to take all of this and tell it to not hyphenate. And then I can go to preview and see what that looks like. And it looks kind of like that. Now, some ways I actually think that that's a little too tight in there. I mean, I like the alignment and all, but maybe we actually have space. So I'm gonna, I know I said to stick with the guides, but I would probably cheat this one a little bit. move it out like that, and that would give it a little bit nicer space, even though it's not strictly on the grid.